called direct ALD systems, direct automatic leak detection. And so the EPA defines that as using sensors or hardware to monitor the concentration of refrigerants in the air. And so this is essentially a sniffer system. So it's sniffing the air, it's determining how many parts per million of refrigerant are in the air today. The EPA listed 8 direct ALD manufacturers in the AIM Act, subsection H, that was released back in October 2023. And so the EPA is very clear that having a single point solution in the machine room doesn't cut it. You need to have a lot more sensors than that throughout the facility. And so in many cases, folks are going to be resorting to these multi-channel leak detectors where you have 16 to 32 to 64 channels of little capillary tubes that are retrofitted and installed and routed throughout the facility that then feed back into a couple of sensors, centralized sensors. And so they're sniffing each one of those channels individually, on a cyclical basis. And so there's a lot of advantages to these type of systems. This is the fastest type of leak detection. You can detect a leak in minutes after it begins. You can pinpoint the leak location to wherever that sensor is, and it does provide that safety compliance as well. So it can provide that immediate alarm in case there is a real human safety issue. The other type of EPA compliant automatic leak detection method available today is called indirect. And according to the EPA, that's defined as using predictive analytics or software to monitor the real-time operating conditions of a refrigerant-based system to infer whether a leak is present. So put another way, using the existing data in that existing Copeland or Danfoss or microthermo controller, those hundreds to thousands of real-time data streams, to determine if a leak is happening or not without adding new hardware, without adding new sensors. There were 3 indirect ALD manufacturers listed by the EPA. And what's common here is that, I'm not sure about all 3, but at least with Axiom, we're using artificial intelligence to process that data from the existing sensors and to determine whether or not there is a leading indicator of a leak present in that facility, in that system. And so there's a lot of advantages to this strategy as well. The first is that we're able to detect leaks anywhere. So even if it's outside, one of the biggest drawbacks of direct ALD sniffing systems is that you can't detect leaks unless there's a sensor right next to the leak, and definitely not outside. And if you think about a refrigeration system, you must have certain components like the condenser outside. And unfortunately, direct ALD systems simply don't allow detection of leaks on those outside components. And so an indirect system can detect leaks anywhere in the facility, whether it's inside or outside, at very, very low leak rates as well, as low as a quarter pound a day, in some cases even lower. So we're talking very small leaks. This completely eliminates the need for manual leak inspections. So, if you're installing a direct ALD system, there is still the need to do manual leak inspections on components of the system that are located outside the facility, because again, those direct ALD solutions simply are unable, based on how they're built and how they operate, to detect leaks that are occurring outside. And finally, deployment of these software-based solutions are very low cost as software-based pricing. We're not installing new hardware. There's no retrofits. There's no big program management solutions where you're deploying trucks and visiting X number of stores per week and informing store managers, et cetera. It's a fully remote deployment in 100 or more sites per week. So a lot of advantages to both. And obviously, there are a lot of decisions to be made there by each individual grocery chain.